Recently, there's been this whole discussion in the TF2 community regarding Zesty Jesus's vocabulary and behavior. After he posted on Twitter that he regularly uses racist and transphobic slurs, sees no problem in doing that, and also thinks anyone that disagrees with him has mental problems, a part of the community felt outraged and started calling Zesty out as a bigot, while another part felt like it was no big deal and people were simply creating unnecessary drama. Whammo, who is known for covering these sorts of controversial topics, made a video about it discussing how toxic Zesty is as a person, and that threw even more fuel into the fire. The whole situation is unfortunate to say the least, but I think there's an important point to be made about it. So, get yourself comfortable because this video will be an interesting one. I'd also like to request that you pay attention to what I have to say and watch the whole video so you have a complete idea of what's my take on this. First of all, I have to say that despite his good efforts, Whammo handled the situation very poorly. Making a video directly attacking another fellow content creator isn't a way to reconcile anything. It only further escalates the situation and results in more aggressiveness and toxicity. That being said, I'm sure you agree with me that calling people mentally ill isn't the behavior of someone wishing to calm everyone's tempers. Zesty himself is just as responsible for this whole fiasco, as not only he refuses to acknowledge the problematic nature of his public online behavior, but also tries to disregard those disturbed by it, saying they have an impaired mind. But all of that is besides the point. What I really want to bring attention to on this video isn't some feud between two popular content creators. What I think is really worth looking at is this: the trivialization of toxic behavior in TF2. I'm sure you've seen this happen before, some person in a match directly harassing other players in chat, calling them slurs and treating everyone in a very derogatory and disrespectful manner. Then, when someone complains about it, the other players refuse to kick the problematic individual and simply tell the complainant to mute them or to grow a thicker skin. The muting option in TF2 sure is great, and I wish more people were aware of it. Also, learning to disregard toxic remarks from others is a very important social skill to develop, for sure. As a YouTuber, I can say I know that better than most people. But the truth is that those actions don't address the underlying problem that is toxic and disrespectful behavior. And worse, the just mute them or grow a thicker skin mentality works to make us accustomed to being in contact with such situations, as if the problem isn't the person being toxic to others, but those uncomfortable with harassment. It really is a symptom of how prevalent toxicity is online and of how many of us learn to simply disregard it as something that is inevitable or impossible to curb. It is true that this problem will never be completely solved, but I think it says a lot about our community and online gaming in general to see how many of us don't even recognize it as a problem or have given up on speaking against it. And before I get people saying that toxicity isn't such a big of a deal, I have to say that yes, if you are only thinking about the present moment, perhaps toxicity is something that could be just ignored or managed through the game's muting system. However, if you consider long-term or deeper repercussions, you might find the problem is a lot more serious. If you have already watched a couple of my videos, you are probably aware that I'm quite interested on game preservation, specifically on making sure TF2 lasts through the ages for future generations to be able to enjoy. I've even made a video specifically about that topic once, and it is in that perspective that trivializing toxicity is most dangerous. Multiplayer games are social activities, and as such, they'll be played only if the participants enjoy engaging with each other in some manner. If over time the enjoyment of interacting with other players gets tarnished by toxicity, people start abandoning the game and eventually what remains is just a bunch of people hating on each other. That's why most sports and games have fair play and conduct rules. It is expected for people who engage on a basketball match in a public community court, for example, to respect each other, even if just at a minimal level. I imagine most of you wouldn't want to play ball games with or against people who continuously curse at you and harass everyone. If I were interested on playing a sport and found out that most players available to play with me are toxic individuals, I'd certainly reconsider that and seek a more uplifting activity to engage with. Good sportsmanship is an absolute must for games and sports to thrive and remain popular for generations. If we truly care about TF2, we have to apply these principles to it as well, and do all we can to make a better, more welcoming and approachable community for everyone. Otherwise, TF2 will simply become an activity for hateful people, and certainly, most of us wouldn't want to take part in that. We want to enjoy the game, make friends, and have a good time with one another. Playing is a way for us to coexist and engage in a significant and positive activity. We can't do that if we accept or trivialize toxicity, which takes many forms, including the use of slurs. And that's where I want to bring your attention back to Zesty Jesus. Whether he realizes it or not, whether he approves of it or not, a lot of people look up to him as a role model. His individual behavior wouldn't be that relevant if he were just a regular TF2 player, but he isn't. He has a significant platform and has made a name for himself as an influencer in this community. I think influencer isn't a word that he would enjoy using to describe himself, but when you get to the point of literally influencing market prices by making a discussion video, there's no denying it. Zesty is an influencer, and as such, as any other public figure, he has to be aware and hold himself accountable for wielding that power over how people perceive the game and the community. Like any other multiplayer game, TF2 already has an old problem with toxicity, and seeing such an influential figure like Zesty not only say it is okay to use slurs, but also ridicule and offend the mental capabilities of people who disagree with that, only makes the problem worse. I'm a huge fan of Zesty's work. I've even said it before on stream here on this channel that he should be appreciated more for the work he puts out. The most underrated. That's a hard one to answer, encrypted message, because I think TF2 YouTubers in general are underrated. You know, I think they deserve a lot more attention than they get because they're showcasing our beloved game. But if I was going to say an underrated TF2 YouTuber, I think I would probably say Zesty Jesus. You know, he has quite a successful channel and he makes great content, but I think that there are a lot of people who don't appreciate him simply because they disagree with his opinions, you know. So I think Zesty Jesus should be appreciated more. I would say Zesty Jesus, then I think that's my answer. But there's no denying that he is, at least in some regard, being a detriment to the community as a whole by enabling racism, transphobia, fat-shaming, mentalism, and general bigotry with his public vocabulary. It makes me sad for real, because I'm sure he's a good person at heart, and I know he can do better than that and actually do something to improve this community instead of validating toxicity online. If he truly is passionate about TF2, he should do more to promote fair play, respect, and good sportsmanship in the game, as those are the things this game needs to last for the next generations as a pleasant experience to engage with. And we all have to take part in that effort as well. Any kind of disrespect towards other players has no place in TF2, or any other game for that matter, and we should collectively work to be better role models, striving to create a friendly and enjoyable community for all sorts of people to be able to play this game with us.